Today we're going to do the evaluation thinking CHF versus a PE. Now this is post-COVID, so give or take, depending, I don't know, genetics-wise, things like that. But all right, so let's say you get a patient that comes in and they come in a little short of breath, not hypoxic, look kind of sickish, feel like they can't get a breath. You get a chest x-ray, and the initial chest x-ray is negative because, depending on the acuity, does depend on your vascular congestion and things like that, all right? But you do the usual CBC, you check your electrolytes and whatnot, and for the most part, they're normal, not showing any creatinine changes. Your sodium is good, your chloride is good, may or may not be on a diuretic, it doesn't really matter. But with the patient's presentation, you do worry about intravascular volume, right? So you check your BNP and you got 800, all right? Now, remember, if this patient has no other clinical indication of heart failure, there is a little bit of worry here. So on an EKG, you're gonna get one, you're gonna look for your bundle branch because, incomplete right bundle branch should be an indicator or a worryful, all right? Now, you're obviously going to look and see that your troponins aren't significantly elevated, so it's not a coronary per se problem. But you notice your troponins are a little up, maybe 0.05, 0.06. Nothing really to write home about. Like, that's not crazy, right? But you notice this BNP that's high. So what I would do, and this is what I tell people, I'm not a big fan of these, but don't just run to a scanner. I know that that's your first thing for some people. It's so easy to just CAT scan. You don't really have to, man. First, run your D-dimer. It is a good indicator, man. If your BNP is 800, troponin is only a minimally bit elevated, you would think, well, it could be heart failure, intravascular volume, not seen on a chest x-ray. Let me check a D-dimer. Because the thing is, you check that D-dimer and it's high. They don't have an AKI, so you're not really worrying about that kind of process. No recent surgery. You could check if they have COVID. It does elevate your D-dimers. I mean, that's, whatever. But you check that D-dimer and it's high, well, now you scan them. If you just run to a scanner and they don't have anything and the chest x-ray was negative, what were you really doing? Like, if the EKG was normal, they're not hypoxic, they're only tachycardic, but they're just a little bit of air hungry, yeah, I get it, but you still got to look for other processes first before you run to a CAT scan. Just because there's no reason to put that radiology or radiation, whatever, on them if you don't need to, man. But you did your D-dimer, it's high, your clinical correlation, you kind of go either way. Could have COVID causing the false elevation of D-dimer, or they got the PE that does causing the D-dimer, or they have heart failure, acute exacerbation, acute intravascular causing that BNP to shoot up, but you're not seeing 2,000-3,000. But I will tell you, be careful, because you can see a 2,000 BNP with a significant PE if you are worrying about, depending on where it's at. Plus, also, sometimes coronary, like coronary clots, we'll just call it that, it's simple, okay, I'm not cultured. But if you check a troponin and it's significantly elevated, that's going to make you worried that, shit, there's ischemia or some type of heart strain significantly coming off of your pulmonary embolisms, or it could be a clot somewhere in that range, whatever. Your CAT scan comes back on some of these people and they'll say PEs with right heart strain. You know that you can go get a cath done and they can either extravate them or whatever you want to call that, or you can do the pulse thing to get it out, whatever. There is those things too. If they're not crazy heart strain, you could still keep them on heparin drip or what have you. But just remember, when you're going through your differentials, because like if I get this patient in the ICU or I'm working them up from the ER standpoint, I need to know what I'm looking at while I'm doing it. But don't throw the kitchen sink right out the gate. Just kind of like go through the physical exam, do everything around it, know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Don't just like they come in, oh, short of breath, D-dimer. Why? You didn't know. Because then if you do it on everybody, you might have elevated D-dimers. Now you're CAT scanning the shit out of people. Or you got to really justify hard why you're not. Come on, man. And that puts the patient at risk for, radiation stuff and whatnot. So you just be mindful, man. Like when you're creating your differentials, just create them one step at a time. You don't take super long to do it, man. Just kind of work towards each thing, know why you're doing it. If you throw everything at once, you're talking $1 million workups, man, for no reason. And that's not going to give you your answer, right? So just keep in mind, it's a lot of information, but Just a little tidbit of a little information, that's all.